did. I auditioned with two different groups, and a week later found out that I was cast, and that was it. That's how I got it. That's all right with you guys?
Yeah, I was in New York, stage actor, and Christine Forrest, at that time George Romero's girlfriend, she and I went to college together. And she called me and said, "Do you know who George Romero is?" I said, "Yeah, Night of the Living Dead, right?" She said, "Uh-huh." So I got to audition for George, and it was really nice. He was very, very relaxed, and I was not what he was thinking at all. And because he pictured the character as some big, burly, Nick Nolte kind of guy, which is not me, right? And so audition went well, and then I got called back again, and he was like looking at me, and he said, "You know, I really like what you're doing," but there was like a but behind it. And I said, "George, so what is it?" He said, "Well, I cast this guy already that you're going to play opposite with. Who's twice your size." And then I said to him, it just came out of my mouth, I said, "George, the audience is not going to give a shit about that after the first 5 minutes, right?" And he just laughed, and then later on he said, "Okay, you got the part."
This is on. I think I was just, I was in an acting class, and a good friend of mine was sitting in the acting class and said, "Oh, you're a blonde." And I said, "Yeah." And they go, "They're looking for blondes, they're looking for blondes." So I went down and I auditioned, and I didn't know who George was. And I didn't know that he had done Night of the Living Dead. I didn't even know what Night of the Living Dead was. And so I did an audition. And I did an audition with a playwright. It was very interesting. And the monologue scared George. It was a monologue where you say goodbye to somebody and they step off the sidewalk and you never see them again, and something terrible may have happened to them. And at the end of it, George says, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry for your friend. What happened?" I go, "No, George, it's okay. It was just acting." And he said, okay, I like that. He was taken aback that he got taken. Anyway, and then I went back for a few more auditions, and that's how I got in.
So none of it didn't take place in a normal Hollywood set. You guys were at the mall, actually. Can you guys talk about some of the shooting schedule and the difficulties working there at the mall?
Well, Jesus. We shot at night, and we had to be out of there in the morning. I think the four of us shared Scott had a car, and so we kind of piggybacked with him. And he drove us in, and we drove out. One of the strange things was getting back in the morning because we ran into Pittsburgh traffic, and it was winter, and it was easier getting out there at night than it was getting back in the morning. And one of the strange things, I'm just going to take a second because it's three of us here, we spread it around a little bit, but one of the unusual things was in the morning when we got, say, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, the elderly people would come in and they would, walk around the mall, open, and they, some of their heart patients, doing that kind of thing. And so we was a mad rush every morning with the crew and the actors to get everybody back into a holding area, get the zombie makeup off, get them dressed and get them out of there. Because we didn't want to have anyone, know the person turn the corner, face a zombie, have a heart attack, and then we had a legal issue on our hands. So that went on every morning in that mall. And that's a quick, stop coming up. And there were several times when you could see the elderly coming, and you would see us moving people and moving, and cleaning up real quick and that kind of thing. So it was all in the mall. It was an issue, especially for Richard, because Richard was financing it. There was nothing broken. There wasn't a chip in the wall, or we hadn't destroyed something. We set up our own, gags and that kind of thing. But you were always kind of careful that if you damage anything, we may not be able to use them all, or there may be a big expense for the productions. So it was always that. So that's just one story.
Well, actually, Richard spent a lot of money fixing up that mall afterwards. The motorcyclists trashed the floor, so they had to replace the entire floor of the mall. And I think there was one really bad special effect that one night when Gary broke the glass explosion that wasn't supposed to quite happen like it did with the door. And I think that was another one of those. But it's a great, talking about the people coming into the walkers in the morning. One morning, I did mix them up. I thought that they were zombies still, and they didn't know that it was a wrap. And I said to them, you know, it's okay, we're done shooting for the night. And they didn't quite know what I meant, and then I realized they were, but then that was what was so brilliant about George. It was the zombies, the people in the mall. There are interchangeables.
Well said. If I recall correctly, I think we did the other locations first, right, before we went to the
Yeah,
mall?
we're in the projects before we went to.
Yeah, the projects. I remember it was really cold, very cold. But just a little sideline. So in the scene where you see all the zombies in the cage in the basement, remember that scene? Early in the movie? So we were called to come downstairs to shoot, to get on the set. And it was like really disgusting, looking at all these people eating all these entrails and eating each other. And I looked at George, I said, George, this is really gross. And he just smiled and he went, yeah, I know.
You know, piggybacking on that, that was the first scene that we saw any of these special effects, as Scott said, and I was just shocked. I looked and I said, oh my God, this is too real. And it really was. I think for the entire film, that was the most compelling and I guess emotionally draining scene for me to work in. Because I didn't expect to see that. Even though I knew Dwayne Jones, I saw Night of the Living Dead. I was a fan of Night of the Living Dead. But to see this up close, personal, and this, it was, a great job of special effects and makeup. So when I walked in, I, for a few seconds, believed that I was really in that situation and really so. I was taken by it. I really was. It wasn't a movie at that point. It was really, God, this is horrible. I don't know. I know I lost it for a few seconds because it was real. It was that real, and it was the first one. After that, I was fine and could do anything at that point. But it was quite a shock.
So, Ken, you brought up Dwayne. Can you talk about having to kind of step into that character and what that character meant to you in film history and just being able to be the next iteration?
Oh God, it's strange because I didn't realize how important, in the African American community, it is historically a huge accomplishment that an African American survived the first 5 minutes of the war. And I didn't realize how important it was until years later when people would stop me in airports and they'd say, you made it. I said, you made it, you didn't die. I said, yeah, this is great, man. This is great. I said, okay, and that kept happening. I said, that was really important for African Americans. They really did. So, and I thought Dwayne Jones carried that film. No offense to the other actors, but I thought he was the pivotal character that really made that film work. And I talked to Dwayne about it, and Dwayne was more into a political kind of thing, and he was in the theater, and so he didn't really express, that much interest in talking about it. But we talked slightly, he wasn't, he was more into the politics of the community, that kind of thing, and then in theater. And we were both members of the National Black Theater and in Harlem. So it was a strange situation to follow him. I respected what he did. I always thought Dwayne saved everyone. Dwayne was the guy who took charge. Dwayne was the guy who survived until that last moment when he opened the door and everyone in the world thought that this man was going to make it. Someone was going to make it out of there. And he got shot right between the eyes. And I think there was a huge gasp, as I've said many times before, I think the entire world took a huge gasp of disappointment when he dropped and he was killed. So I thought Dwayne was a pivotal character, and I appreciated him. And to follow him, I always said he provided a porthole for a lot of African American actors to survive. So it was part of it, and I was glad to be part of it. You know, glad that I followed and I survived. I did survive.
Gaylen, I read that you didn't want to scream in the film. Talk a little bit about that choice.
Yeah, well, I mean, horror films up to then were women, you know, hiding or cowering, and then watching the guys either get beat up or beat other people or kill. And this was, you know, it was before Linda Hamilton and Sigourney. It was just about that time. Those two characters also came out in really classic women heroine films. And now we have Wonder Woman. Yay! Did everybody see that? So great. Yay! But at the time, the female characters essentially were just marginalized. And I have to say, even in Night of the Living Dead, the women were pretty frozen. So I said, you know, I don't want to be a screamer. I don't want to, you know, do that. And George and I had talks about that. And I said, listen, if I'm part of the group, then that's, you know, then I have to be at least as equal as I can be. So I think he did dub in a few screams and in post, but you know, what are you gonna do? You know. But the helicopter in the gas station got dubbed a little screams. But yeah, so I think that was important. And then of course after that came Sigourney and Linda Hamilton and a few others. And then interestingly, it sort of slowed down again. That women were peripheral, and then looks like it's coming back up.
Scott and Ken, there's a fun scene that you guys have in the truck where you guys are talking about each other's size. You mentioned earlier that George had brought it up to you beforehand. Was that his way of like explaining the size difference, or did you guys were honestly just making fun of each other in the truck?
Exactly.
It was all improv.
Yeah.
And we were actually making fun of each other.
Yeah.
And the thing that came out of that, I think, is because we rode together almost every day to set. You know, he'd make fun of me. I'd make fun of him. He's a big guy, and I'm just like a little guy. And we just sort of would riff with each other. And it all just came out of that relationship happening. And that was a fun scene.
Yeah, that was with Short People. The song is Short People. They hit the charts.
Right.
So I sang it to him every morning going to the set.
And he was always late. And I'm in the car, and it's freezing in the garage, and she's like late. I'm going, why are you so late? You know? And I think, I don't know, you can
I said, I'm just giving Short People. And sometimes I'd be in my room and I'd say, okay, let's see how much time. All right, let me see how angry is Scott getting. Right, then I come down maybe 5 or 10 minutes later and say hi. You know, it was fun. Scott was always ready to go. And eventually, I said, this is going to be fun. So I would purposely take my time, be a little later each day, just up 5 minutes. And I knew because he was about a second. And I was just a few minutes later every day.
I knew exactly what you were doing.
It was fun.
And I also felt that, I don't know if it's true for you or not, you can just say, but that at first, when we kind of first met and started to talk, that you know, sort of like, you know, who is this like feisty little white guy? He's like really blunt. I know, it's really funny.
He was a feisty little white guy. He was a perfect partner. He was, he had he had fire, and he had a lot of pizzazz with him. He was. I don't know how our relationship and working together, the two characters really worked for. I don't know how it worked with Scott, but it was always that I could play off of him because he was as gung-ho, as macho, as determined. I get teased him about being short, but he wasn't a short guy. He was as tall as I was in this film. He was really a hell of a character to work with. So we had a good time. I didn't consider him a white guy.
You've been raised. And the whole car thing, you know, as I said, that was like totally intentional.
Yes.
I'm looking at my watch.
It was.
How long did it be?
It was wonderful. Wonderful. Late.
So Scott, tell us a little bit about the makeup process you had to endure becoming a zombie.
It actually was pretty simple. There was, as far as I recall, there was no latex involved, as far as I remember. It was about an hour and a half, and Savini just put this very thin tissue on my face, and he sprayed it with some kind of solution, I don't know what it was, and then he would blow dry my skin. And he did it over and over and over and over until my skin shrank, and then he just put the makeup on top.
No, Tom didn't do my makeup one day, and someone else did it, one of his assistants. And I had green makeup on screen. I don't know what she did, but I think we looked at dailies or something at one point, and I guess they corrected it, but she had just totally put, it was great. I think she got, maybe got confused and thought I should be a zombie or something, but she really screwed up the makeup. So I was glad to have Tom back the next day.
She doesn't work for Tom anymore.
I don't think she did. I don't think she did.
So there were some cool stunts in the film, particularly Scott's scene in the escalator. Could you guys talk about doing some stunts and stuff in the film?
I was very young, so he said, George, I didn't shoot Savini. It's the time when I run across the mall and between one of the stairways there, and I jump and roll on the floor and roll 3 times and then fire. Well, this is concrete, and in those days, absolutely, I was happy to do it. Go home, let's do this. And so I did. You could do your own stunts, as a very young man. Today I wouldn't dare think about doing something like that. But yeah, we did most of our own stuff. Yeah, we were very in great shape. I think you threw a kick, and great kick and that kind of stuff. And I threw one, I think, on the roof with what was the guy who held the rifle, and I kicked him. Jay Stover, yeah. I
Stole my brother's car, by the way.
Yeah.
About the escalator, that was very impromptu because in the script, it says Roger runs down the escalator, and we were at the escalator, and I looked at it, and I just said, George, what if I slide down? And he went, what? I said, I can slide down, just have somebody spot me so I don't break my back. And he went, okay. And he moved the camera. It was kind of that simple. That's how that happened.
So we all know George Romero is a famous director, genre creator. Talk about working with him and what type of director he was. There's a lot of directors that we hear about that are very do what I say, and some allow you to improv. Gaylen, let's start with you. What was it like working with George, and what type of director is he?
Well, I think mine is somebody's.
Not me.
Not me.
Not me.
Over here.
Do me a favor, just don't hold your microphone down. If you hold your microphone down, it'll do that.
I-
If you turn it upside down, it's that.
Okay, well, sorry. George was great. He was he is you know, I mean, the kind of director that is, I think he, you know, he has a script and then he has a great, I'm not doing anything with that microphone, that's all you. Soundboard. Okay. I actually, can you hear me without the mic?
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't need
I got you. It's, go ahead.
That's what actors do, we don't need mics, right?
I hate this.
I know, I hate the mic. Basically, George was wonderful in that he was very, very receptive and open to whatever an actor wanted to do. And usually, you know, you would do a take and you go, is that okay? And then he would like, if he really liked it, he goes, great, man, great. And then there would be this kind of face, you know, like, yeah, yeah. And then you knew it, he didn't really want that, he wanted something a little different, and he was a nonverbal director, which was the best kind, you know, because you sort of intuitively get what, you know, what he wants. And then he would always accept your other version, you know, another way of doing the scene, or in one case, you know, I wanted to do a couple of different scenes that weren't in the script, and we had long talks about it, or, you know, the scene where I was in the makeup room, he wanted to cut that all together, and I went late one night to his office and typed him a letter on his typewriter saying why that should be in the film and why it was so important to that character. And he accepted all of it. I think the interesting thing when we did Creepshow, you know, he was working with a lot of actors that were really, really heavy hitters, like Hal Holbrook and Ed Harris and Carrie Nye and A.G. Marshall, people who really had their chops as actors. And they didn't quite know what they were getting into, and every single one of them came away with incredible admiration for George's work and respect for his directing style and his appreciation of them as actors. And I think that's huge, because most actors like that are incredibly dismissive of film directors. They just like, let me get paid, do the part, and go away. And instead, they all were really very impressed with what George did with them in the film.
Yeah, I just reiterate what Gaylen said. It was very collaborative, had a great sense of humor, and was very relaxed. So he set a tone where you would feel relaxed. And when you're relaxed,
Yeah.
then you can start to follow your instincts and your impulses, you know, provided you're totally prepared. You know, then that takes over. And then he just reflects back, non-criticism, you know, just reflect back to you and make an adjustment, but in a very relaxed fashion. You know who Stanley Tucci is?
Yeah.
Right? Okay, from Hunger Games and many, many other things. He said in the behind the scenes, this is not about George, but about the same idea. He said that 90% of the directors do not know how to work with actors, right? Or how to language with them, or give them the space, right, to do what they do. And that's pretty true. You know, visual storytellers, they can be brilliant, right? But a greater percentage of them don't work well with actors. Turned it that.
I thought that George, when he found something that he liked, he would, of course, just, he'd give you the, and if you found something he liked, he'd give you a smile. If you had a suggestion, he had a movement with his shoulders. He would kind of go, huh, you know, yeah, you know. And he was always, most directors, when they hire an actor, they want to know how hard they're going to have to work to get something out of that actor, or get that actor to a certain place and get the performance that they want. And if you've been cast in Hollywood, or you've been cast in not Hollywood, but in any film or in television, and they usually, one of the important things about casting an actor is, am I going to have to work especially hard to get a performance out of this character, this actor, to get this guy to do what I want? And George didn't seem to have that issue with anybody's work. But he always cast an actor who would bring something to the part, bring something different, and he was always open, as Scott says, for collaboration. So you would say something, George, I want to do this, I'd like to try that, what do you think of this, what do you think of that? And mostly it was, you know what, let's try it, sure, that works, let's give it a shot. So it was always that kind of feeling with George, and as Gaylen said, very quiet, very reserved, laid back, and as a director, you're in charge of everything. So if you've got actors that you have to direct, you have background people, you have ADs, you have to make sure they're getting the help from them that you need. You've got the producer behind you. You've got zombies roaming all over the place. You've got the set. You've got special effects, lighting, everything that's going on, camera, and so I found that George just seemed to, I think maybe the relaxed persona that he had was part of that. Just let me make this happen. Let me see if it works, and let me see where we go with it. He had the material. He had, he knew what he had to script. So we always had that as our map. But other than that, he kind of just said, okay, let's say it happened. Yeah, oh, you got something? Yeah, let's see it. I'm sure that Sabini had a lot of suggestions as well that he went with. I'm sure that there are a few guys that were in the crew as well. I think Lenny Lees, I think he had some stuff that he mentions that he suggested. So it was always a collaboration with George, not only with the actors, but the crew as well. A suggestion could come from almost anyone. And George, wait, yeah, that might, yeah, okay. Or if he didn't like it, immediately he could, and just shake his head and move on to something else, and that would be it. So he was like a cool, very cool, laid back director who knew exactly what he wanted, and didn't really give you, he didn't seem to explode. Some directors work with other directors, create a certain atmosphere on the set, and some created tension on the set because they wanted that. And they want the actors to feel that and bring that to the screen. And so you walk in and all of a sudden you might hear him say, all right, you son of a bitch, what are you doing? And what the F is that? And this is, nothing's going on. But they just want the actors to be a little bit, tense and maybe, have that adrenaline going so they can get something else. George didn't have to do that with us. He just sat back and just let it happen. Took the suggestions, and if they were good, we worked with it. If they weren't good, we dismiss it and we move on to something else. No one got their feelings hurt.
This just kind of popped in my head as you were talking about George. Can you compare George and Rob Zombie and their style of directing? Oh my goodness, that's so difficult because that's 1978 to 2005 and 6. They both had their own unique qualities, I think Rob Zombie has he's an artist, he paints, and he's, of course his music, of course, but he's, I respect his courage, I think he has a grasp of a certain a certain style of Americana, especially in dialogue, great dialogue. And he's also a fun guy. Rob, you're on the set with Rob, and Rob is, he's as much a part of the team in terms of, being another actor and telling stories. And, we were shooting the scene, the dance scene in Devil's Rejects, where everybody's dancing and having a good time. And all of a sudden, we had Rob and the entire crew in the party dancing, and they were, all of a sudden looked around, and he was dancing, and the camera guy was dancing. They're still rolling, they're kicking into it. And that was Rob. Devil's Rejects was such a special movie. This is the Dawn of the Dead panel, so I don't want to spend time, but it was such a special movie because of the atmosphere that Rob Zombie created, and it was that kind of atmosphere. He knew what he wanted as well, and he made it happen. He was also very collaborative with the actors, but he
also had that kind of fun. I mean, he was a fun individual. He had a lot of fun. It was almost like having your best friend direct, and you're working together, and you're joking, and you're laughing, and you're shooting the bull as you're working. So it was that kind of thing, as opposed to George, who was kind of, he was very thoughtful, and and contemplative, that kind of thing. He had to sit back, and then Rob was, hey, let's go, let's do it. He was almost like the rock star he is on the set, but not without being a rock star, without doing this, but the same movements, the same kind of energy, that kind of thing. So it's different, yeah.
Gaylen and Ken, there's been some debate about an alternate ending to the film. Talk about that if you could, Gaylen. Let's start with you.
Well, there was an alternate, did that work? Hello, yeah, okay. There was an alternate ending. I was supposed to die, and Kenny was supposed to die. That was the alternate ending. What?
Yeah.
Well, you didn't know this after 30-something?
Bad movie.
No, I mean, there's the script is in it. The script is there. I mean, it's, the alternate ending was that we had given up. I think Kenny you put a gun to your head, and I put my head through a chopper. And we shot the thing. Obviously, I didn't really put my head. But we shot it as if that would be the ending. And Savini created, that was my first meeting in Pittsburgh, was meeting Savini, who was casting my head when he was going to, we were going to kill me. And he got my head stuck in the plaster cast. And that was like how I was introduced to Dawn of the Dead, and Tom kept saying, wow, this has never happened before. I mean, and so I think they used the head in the
Bully.
Yeah, they blew up something else with the head. And I don't know why I think George decided it was too depressing.
Yeah, that was exactly it, because we were about to shoot the scene where I put the Derringer to my head, and George came up to me, and I think, see, that's an issue. Some people know the stories, and some know. I've had several films where I thought that the ending or a certain situation happened for one reason, and then I get on a panel, and someone says, no, this is what happened. And it totally blew me away. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the same way. I thought they told me that they killed Benny, that they would bring me back because they tested it and the audiences didn't like that I died. I did a panel with Jeff Burr and the cast about 6 months ago, and Jeff Burr stood up and said, well, this is why we brought back Kim Foree. And this is not the story I've been telling for 10 years, 20 years. And the same thing with it. Sometimes you listen to Savini tell the story about the alternate ending. I've heard other people say that George has said something different. I thought, this is my opinion, but I thought George and I had a conversation just before I was going to shoot the Derringer scene, and he said, I said, this is going to be awfully dark. Nobody survives. And so I said, do you think I should kill myself? And we discussed it a little bit, and he said, no, let's go for the up ending, right ending. Let's go for something that's a little more.
But they shot both, right?
No.
You didn't shoot
No,
the gun?
no.
They
Never,
shot me.
no, never
You
shot.
were already dead by then.
No, never shot them. Never shot them. We decided at that point, and see that's what I mean. Exactly. Because there's always a different opinion. I don't know if Savini may get up there and say something different. George may have another opinion. It's one of those questions that keeps going around.
You put the gun to your head.
I put the gun to my head.
Which he could have cut at that point, right? He could have done that.
He could have
Yeah.
cut it, but
And then it could have been me putting my head through. I mean, he didn't necessarily have to see you shoot on camera.
he didn't have to. No,
Right.
he didn't see me shoot.
Like you didn't see Scotty die.
No, you heard the gunshot.
Right.
Perfect.
He
You
did
heard
the
me
same
shoot.
thing with you.
And with me, he put the gun to the head, and he said, "Don't do it. We're gonna go up. We're gonna make this an upending." And I don't know. I guess you were in the cockpit at that point. And so you were already, so you were gonna die because you were gonna fly away.
No, but we shot my ending.
I know you shot your ending because Savini put the dummy in the.
And I went up and then they cut, we did the fake of the propeller.
And wasn't that a test? Didn't they
No,
just test
no,
that?
we
Or
shot it.
they shot that. Okay.
So technically, if
Okay.
he had wanted to do the darker ending, they could have cut away from your,
Well, they could have cut away
Yeah.
without shot.
Yeah.
Without shot. Without seeing the shot, they could have done that.
but I think it was because they wanted the up ending.
Yeah, exactly. And that was it. That was it.
It's like, Get Out had an alternate ending, he reshot that.
Mhm.
I mean, did everybody see Get Out? It's
Mhm.
like
Yes,
such
yes,
a great
yes, yes,
film.
yes, yes.
You have to see that film, it's amazing. But, I mean, he originally was captured by the cops at the end, and that was going to be the end, and then, he said, no, this is just too depressing, too dark, I need hope. And that's how the TSA got,
No, I thought I was going to shoot you. I thought I was going to.
Yeah.
I was supposed to
But
shoot
he could
myself.
have done that, he could have cut
He could
away
have.
and
He could have.
did what he
He
did
could
to
have.
Scotty.
Tell you one of the strange things about the helicopter scene on the road. You remember what happened that night?
Yeah.
She's in the chopper, and the helicopter pilots, but you can't see him, and they're shooting Gaylen, and chopper's moving on, lifting up. And I come and I grab the rudder, and so I'm not thinking, I'm grabbing the rudder and I'm pulling it down, and the pilot's going, don't do that. So I'm not gonna die there. We might have died there. That would have been the ending, guys. That was good.
So we have one last question before we're going to go to the audience for a couple. You guys were just recently back at the Monroeville Mall for a show. Even though it looks pretty much nothing like it did when you filmed there, what is it like being back there with the three of you guys and also so many other of the cast as far as extras and things like that go?
Well, it brought back a lot of memories, of course. So you're trying to figure out where is where. I mean, it looked very much the same, even though it's been renovated. Structurally, it's not really different, right? And it was kind of fun, to be in the corridor and do the photo op of when we first appeared in the corridor, going up to the roof. That was really interesting. So yeah, it was, just brought back a lot of thoughts. But it doesn't look that different to me. Different stories. What I find incredible is that people have pieces of like the elevator, the escalator.
Yeah, there's a guy walking around with the part of the elevator door or something in the back. Where is he? Is he in here? There we are. Would you stand up, please? Matt, that's Matt. What have you got? Have you got it there with you?
Yeah, I got it.
Would you lift it up, please? There we go, guys. He's something. He's something. People got everything. Yeah. Gaylen, you going? No. Okay.
Anybody in the audience? I'll come to you.
Wait a minute, hold on. I want to tell them what I felt about it. It was surreal for me. It really was. It's been, what, 30, 40 years, almost 40 years now since we shot this film. Who's counting? And to be back there, and I took a moment, and just leaned over the balcony, the banister there, and I just surveyed the mall, and I thought about it. I said, boy, this has been, we were all very young. We were all, this is almost 40 odd years ago. And here I am back here again. And I've been back, years before, but this time it was kind of like, gee, will I see this again? Will I be here again? It's been so long. And it was really a reflective moment for me, just to sit there and say, gee, this is where it happened. And this is where this started. This is where this craze for this wonderful film began. This is where it all happened. So I took that moment, and it's very special for me, for that. Anyway. question.
Hi, this is Ken. Night of the Living Dead is rather famously a case of colorblind casting. Romero's said in the past that he simply cast the best actor he could find. I was wondering if you knew if your part was written as black or if that was another case.
You know, I've often wondered about that. I have no clue. Sometimes people ask George, and he always says, "Well, I picked the best actor for me." But he keeps following with the same, a black character almost in all of them. Terry Alexander was in Day of the Dead. I think Eugene Clark as the head zombie in Land of the Dead. So I don't know, George, I said, George, it's because you're Cuban? Is that what? You're adding a little color to this? But I don't know why he does it. I don't know. I'm glad he did. But I wish I had an answer for you for that. And I wish someone would ask George and he would give another answer, because it really leaves it kind of open. I cast the best actor for the part, okay, but why do we continue to have that African American as a pivotal character in the film as well? You know what I mean? So I don't know. I'm just thrilled that he did. And I don't know. He knew Dwayne. There was some kind of connection between him and Dwayne and theater or something like that, or other people that were in the business that knew Dwayne, and they got together in terms of probably, as from what I understand, there was some connection with with people in film in Pittsburgh and some people in New York that he knew, and he had some relationship with Dwayne and other actors, and auditioned Dwayne and thought he was a great actor, and they used him. But I have no idea why they used him. I wish someone would tell me. That would be a great answer. That would solve a lot of questions for me as well, and probably the entire world. But because again, the last thing, it became everyone asked that question, why? Especially in 1968, there weren't many African Americans besides Sidney Poitier and Lilies in the Field. There weren't many African Americans that were, the lead or playing one of the leads in films, period. There were a few here and there, but in the 60s, not that many. You could count them on one hand, so it was a very courageous move by him, if it was that, but he always says it was the best actor. I guess that's his way of kind of like staying away from the controversy, or creating a controversy, or, I don't know.
I've heard a lot of people talking about the movie being an allegory for capitalism, mindless zombies wandering through the mall. Was George A. Romero, did he have really strongly held opinions on that? Was that I know that the Flyboy points out it's what they do, it's what they remember. So.
Well, yeah, no, he absolutely did. That's exactly what he thought. I mean, that's why he put it in the mall. I mean, to him, the mall was America. This is what people do. In fact, the zombies are more understandable than the humans in the way that the bikers come in and destroy. I mean, the idea is that you have these four people that are, creating civilization somehow inside the mall, and then other people, the bikers in this case, have to destroy it and take it over, and then of course it opens it up again for the zombies. But there was very little difference in George's mind between the zombies and the human beings in greed, and in fact I think his affection is much more for the zombies, and because at least they do what they do, and I think in Day of the Dead it even is further explored in that way. I mean, that's their nature. That's what they do. Humans don't have an excuse for that. And I think all of those things were working in George's mind when he did Dawn of the Dead and later Day of the Dead. which later, The Day of the Dead, as you may know, was supposed to be a different film. It was supposed to be a much, much more complex and multi-layered film with a bigger budget that didn't come through. But much like Blade Runner, where there was the level of the elite living, George may have predicted the 1% way back then, and everybody else, and everybody else struggling, and then the zombies were being trained to become the immigrant worker class, which is pretty prophetic when you think about it.
Was the Monroeville Mall like one of the first malls in America?
Yeah.
Anybody know?
Well, there weren't that many.
Yeah.
There weren't that many. There were malls, but they weren't as popular and certainly not as spread out, in every city. So.
Everybody, put your hands together for the cast of